Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to another edition of The State here on Wesleyan Television. My name is 𝗟𝗓𝗃𝗬𝗓. It's been a raging issue, a debate that many pundits and connoisseurs have jumped onto the matter. I wouldn't want to introduce it now. Let's go for a breather. When we come back, the details don't go anywhere.
If we come your job, we no use dead spice. We no go job. I don't feel.
Taste the inside. Yeah, the natural spices, papa na
no do sooner better. The way you go, dead spices.
Just the
one. No more dead spices. Aji baby,
Black, tasting like chicken.
Kaji, go. But dead spices here what Jenny say. Nanya good taste. If we say yeah the natural spices and yeah organa hey Annie, you want all purpose, stew, noodles, curry and nutmeg and a jollof. Dead spices. Taste yummy. Taste lemon. Dead spices. Taste day inside. FDIG a jedi in Quarcoo.
Sorry, not sure.
Wake up to a purposeful day.
Get ready for a transformational morning experience.
Sorina Shrine is here to build our spirituality, mental and physical well-being.
Through positive, inspiring actions and stories.
We bring you exciting activities and conversations that develop us as a people and as a nation.
We take a look at the trending issues in Ghana and the rest of the world.
And we also review the impacting stories from our local newspapers.
Every morning, we bring you stories of hope, change, and renewal.
We empower you through the Word of God and provoke you to live the purposeful life destined for you.
Join us, Anita Quarcoo
and the Reverend Adzika Vincent Agbamanya, Monday to Friday from 5:30 a.m. to 10 a.m. as we take you on an inspiring journey, live and exclusively on WTV.
You may also join us on Facebook at WTV Ghana and on YouTube at Wesleyan TV Ghana.
Sorry, not sure.
Wake up to a purposeful day.
Sorina Shrine is brought to you by
Danwell Insurance, Multi-Credit Savings and Loans,
and the Methodist University Ghana.
Health, they normally say, is wealth, and that is why at the commencement of this week, we had a very important conversation on kidney and dialysis. Of course, that conversation was necessary because we understand here that government is proposing to offer a free treatment regime to some of the patients. The conversations have not yet been concluded, but we believe that it's a very interesting intervention, or rather a very useful one, which of course will go a long way to, as it were, better the lot of many who unfortunately have been struck by such circumstances. But away from the conversation on health, another issue which always affects the generality of the Ghanaian populace are matters of the economy. I mean, when the cedi, of course, is depreciating, you would be concerned. When it's very expensive for you to come buy a meal, you will be concerned. And so recently, there is this gentleman who, of course, is not currently in the jurisdiction. He is in the Netherlands. He made a profound statement that has become extremely trending. I mean, it's something that has gone viral. So this is where we now welcome you to W Briefs, because we are now ready to, of course, set out the facts and the relevant details regarding the subjects that we are going to engage this afternoon. The name of that gentleman is 𝗧𝗵𝗘𝗏. He also likes to identify himself as Mr. Happiness. So it's quite brief, and I'm sure that you may have even seen that circulating video on social media. 𝗧𝗵𝗘𝗏 went to social media and said that, well, on any given day, given the option of a Dutch passport and a PhD acquired from the University of Ghana, he would pick the former. And he explained effectively that, I mean, in a subsequent post, he emphasized that the reason he opted for the Dutch passport is that, of course, it allows him the opportunity to enjoy a better quality of life. In his initial post, he was talking about the ease of traveling. Well, this is just somebody who was making a comment on social media, and we felt that ordinarily it would have ended there, but it has not ended there. Indeed, as we speak, the conversation is still trending massively on social media. We've had notable researchers and professors in Ghana, like Professor 𝗟𝗓𝗪𝗘, and a number of well-meaning, if you like, citizens and well-intentioned fellows joining the conversation. I myself has had occasion to write a few lines on it, because indeed the question or the thrust or the gravamen of his submission is that, is it better to acquire higher education in Ghana compared to traveling outside of our jurisdiction and looking for greener pastures? We take a breather. When we come back, the details. But don't forget that, as always, this program is proudly brought to you by the Christian Service University. We'll be right back. It's a Wednesday, and again, we are back here on the stage. Like I was intimating earlier, on Monday, we decided to focus on dialysis treatment in Ghana. I know a number of people, I mean, personally, I wouldn't want to disclose their names, who have had to suffer and indeed are still suffering because, of course, the cost of treatment is really beating them, and therefore they are not able to enjoy life properly. So for such individuals, when they hear that government wants to roll out a free treatment program, definitely they would be happy. But it's important for us to get into the details of that conversation, and that was precisely what we did on Monday, because health, like they always say, is wealth. But this afternoon, we're going to focus on a separately different issue. This has gotten to do with the quality of life here in our jurisdiction, Ghana, and the conversation is on the back of a viral comment which was made by Mr. Happiness, as he likes to identify himself, otherwise known as 𝗧𝗵𝗘𝗏. 𝗧𝗵𝗘𝗏 says that, well, on any given day, if he's given the opportunity to pick a Dutch passport over a PhD or a doctorate degree acquired from the nation's premier university, he will pick the former. But talking about universities, don't forget that the Christian Service University is indeed one of the finest outfit for any individual who wants to pursue undergraduate programs or is desirous of learning beyond the undergrad level. They are in Kumasi, and we'll be rolling the numbers on your screens for you very soon, and calling them out as well. Alternatively, you can visit the website for more details. Time for me to now introduce my guest for this all-important conversation. And that's to 𝗧𝗵𝗵𝗘. He is a finance and risk management, analyst and manager for that matter. And he's joining us all the way from up north. He's currently not in the capital. He joins us via Zoom. Ernesto, you are also a concerned citizen apart from being a finance and risk manager. How are you doing this afternoon, and how is up north?
Up north is fine. Good afternoon. Good afternoon to your cherished listeners. How are you doing today?
Right. We are glad that you are doing well up north. Down here in Accra, the situation is not any worse. 𝗟𝗑𝗩𝗘 is joining us all the way from the United States of America. And if you like, she will be an active part in this conversation because she is a doctoral candidate, which means that very soon we would be calling her Dr. 𝗟𝗑𝗩𝗘, if that is right. Mercedes, if you can hear us this afternoon, welcome.
And thank you, and a good afternoon to your cherished viewers as well.
Right. We are privileged for the opportunity to have you. So the first man is in the northern region of Ghana. The second man is all the way in the United States of America. But down here at Adabraka, we have in our studios 𝗟𝗵𝗪𝗘, a researcher and a public policy advocate. I don't know why today he decided to appear very casual. Ordinarily, he would have dressed like I am or even beaten me to the contest. Mr. P, what informed this lighter dressing on a Wednesday?
Well, thank you, Christy, and good afternoon to my co-panelist, Ernesto. It's a delight watching him once again. It's been so many years.
Yeah, so many years.
After completing school. And of course, Mercedes. I remember our Nooks days. And so I'm happy to see them. Because this afternoon, you can see the weather. It is not a time to be dressed in all the Dutch, apparels, For you, given the weather under which you are, as it is, I think that you are.
When you say weather under which I am, what exactly does it mean?
The temperature here is quite different from outside. Mind you, I am just coming from outside into the studio. So what it tells you is that the temperature out there is quite, dry, or if you like, warm. And so I need to appear in this casual form. But that will not take anything away from the substantive matter upon which we are gathered here. Believe me when I say so. So we are on course.
Right. Certainly we are on course. Yeah. So those of you joining, watching home, these are your discussants for this afternoon's conversation. I want to start off with you, Ernesto. So basically, I'm sure as of now, you would have been privy to the video and you would have listened to what 𝗟𝗪𝗘 said. Like I did indicate at the start of the conversation, I have had cause to write a few lines on it. And my deduction from everything that he said was that the focus was not really targeted at, academic credentials per se. I felt more that he was talking about the general quality of life in Ghana. Do you buy in my deduction, or you have a completely different opinion?
Okay, Shandov. Good afternoon to Samson and good afternoon to Mercedes. So I share your deduction. I feel strongly that the gentleman's opinion is not necessarily to say that he's comparing a PhD to traveling, out of the country or even acquiring a Dutch passport. These are two different things. The issue is that you have to understand the motivation behind, anyone's decision. Okay, ordinarily, someone in pursuit of, if you like, knowledge, wouldn't really have an issue with a PhD. And personally, probably it is a path I may chart in the future. And so, a PhD on its own is good. Traveling out of the country gives you, a number of options. One of them includes to also get the opportunity to acquire knowledge from your top universities, in the world. Netherlands, in particular, is not an ordinary country. They're a very wealthy country. My hope is that we have these discussions and we remain very constructive, very critical, open-minded, so that we don't end up discouraging people from acquiring knowledge. We don't end up, causing those who are already PhD candidates from abandoning the course and, leaving the country. Like I said, I am very much passionate about the well-being and the growth of Ghana. Things are not good. Can things be better? I believe so. We can do it, and we will do it as partners. First degree holders, master's holders, PhD holders. I mean, we all have to come together to do it. So I believe strongly that the gentleman's opinion is a matter of the quality of life. And if you ask me how we are faring, I mean, we are nowhere close to good, right? We are nowhere close to good. Things could have been better, and I do hope that as the discussion unfolds, we get to share more ideas and offer our suggestions as to how we can do to, if not even curtail such comments that end up probably discouraging, some people, or causing some rift between academia and all those who are pursuing PhD, if not causing any difficulty, amongst us. At least, we can share ideas and see how we can collectively move Ghana forward.
And I want to be very direct. If you had the opportunity of course, you are pursuing a PhD, of course, not here in Ghana, but let's go back to maybe 6 years ago. If you had the opportunity, or even 7 years ago, if you had the opportunity to pursue a PhD at the University of Ghana compared to traveling to Netherlands and becoming a citizen, which of the two would you have picked if you were to go back 7 years ago, for example?
All right, shut up. Yeah, so I mean that's an interesting question. I think one thing I want to try to
hold on, Ernesto.
To appear to be correct.
Yeah, Ernesto, hold on. That question properly was directed to Mercedes, rather. If she's on, hello, Mercedes.
Yeah, I'm here.
Right.
So, if I had the opportunity to choose between doing my PhD in Ghana and traveling, just traveling as a visitor, or am I going as a tourist? Because I believe education is different from traveling experience or being a tourist in some countries.
No,
so I would always choose education.
No, this is within the context of you having an actual passport or proper citizenship, so to speak.
So I can only be a citizen in a lot of these developed countries if I'm getting married to someone who's a citizen or through some work routes. I would choose education any day because, like Ernesto said, these are two different things. I believe the gentleman, like as you said, sought to speak about the quality of life in these two countries and not to compare education to a traveling document, because the comparison is flawed from onset. I don't think you can compare education to a traveling document. People pursue things for different reasons. I won't begrudge him for his opinion, because even on the Maslow's theory of need, below the pyramid is physiological needs. People would always look out for their physiological needs first before they move up the pyramid. And so he's probably speaking to those needs. But for someone who has gone through bachelor's and master's, want to do a PhD, there must have been a reason, because I don't think you necessarily need to do a PhD to get a job. People pursue PhD for different reasons, and so I would still choose my PhD any day.
All right, thanks for those preliminary remarks. We'll get into the substance of the conversation properly. Something, by way of your opening comments, we've heard from Ernesto, we've heard from Mercedes, who insists that, well, if she were to go back even 7 years from now, she will still stick with the current option. What's your initial take on this issue?
Well, Kwesi, I think that those were very good perspectives from Ernesto and Mercedes. Of course, like they indicated, the gentleman's remarks or statements basically has nothing to do with the comparison between being a citizen of the Dutch by acquiring the Dutch passport, because when you have the Dutch passport, it makes you not only a citizen of the Dutch, but also a citizen of EU. The comparison actually is about the quality of life that a PhD holder has here in Ghana or having acquired a PhD from the University of Ghana, and the quality of life of someone who is being offered the Dutch passports to become a citizen of the Dutch or the Netherlands and that of EU. With all respect, with global respect to every PhD holder from the premier university, a university I hold so dear to my heart because I'm a product of that university, I think that we should be able to look at the perspective from which the gentleman is coming from. Look, why do we acquire education? People have different reasons for acquiring education, and we all know that PhD is the highest of academic sources. For professorship and what have you, those are not truly, you know, disciplines in terms of academia properly called. And so when you have your undergraduate, masters and PhD, what it means is that we are expecting to see some level of quality when it comes to your life, first and foremost, and some level of quality when it comes to decisions that you make or take for and on behalf of people that you may lead one way or the other. And so when the gentleman look at the PhD holders, and I am being very careful in my opinion, because I do not want to overly downplay the relevance of education, because we cannot sincerely do that. But I want us to avert our mind to the very core point the gentleman is trying to, you know, put across. When you attain that level of education in your career in terms of having the PhD from the University of Ghana or elsewhere, what it means is that your life must reflect him, and your decisions when you find yourself in leadership must equally reflect him. But if we cannot see that as at now, then what it means is that if there is any other alternative way of living good, for example, having a Dutch passport, then I would ordinarily prefer that to having a PhD. And I'll give you an example. Look at the salaries of the lecturers we have at the University of Ghana and the universities across board. The gentleman was specific that a PhD from the University of Ghana, so I'm going to limit my conversation to that of the University of Ghana. When you look at the salary structure of the lecturers from the University of Ghana, you know, if you are not a PhD holder, you cannot be a lecturer there. Absolutely. Of course. But it ranges from 6,000 to somewhere 12,000. What is the dollar equivalent of that? We are talking about somewhere $267 to $468. But what about the average salary of even a toilet cleaner, excuse my language, in the Netherlands, where the gentleman, Mr. Happiness, resides? We are talking in excess of 3,000 to 3,500 euros, depending on your experience, your qualification, and of course your educational level. But at the end of the day, the gross salary ranges from 3,000 to 3,500 euros. What is the CD equivalent of that as of today? We are talking over 48,000 plus.
Compared to the 6,000 to
6,000 to 12,000 of PhD holders who are lecturers at the University of Ghana. Clearly, there is a point everybody is missing. The gentleman is not talking about a PhD certificate or a PhD holder and that of a Dutch passport offered to somebody to become a citizen of the Dutch and, of course, a citizen of the EU. The gentleman is talking about the quality of life, the output, the opportunities, the standard of living, the decisions that affect the progress of individuals and the country, what have you. And he mentioned, you know, the one thing I love about his position is the fact that he didn't mention just any university. And he was not brought that a PhD from Ghana. He mentioned a PhD from the University of Ghana. And you know why? Because that is the premier university. And it is expected that when you acquire that from there, it means that your level of engagement and what have you is super. But in instances where we have seen some of these people living below what is expected, then there is a reason to question. What is more example to this? We have seen UTAG members, the University Teacher Association members from the University of Ghana and other universities on strike, on industrial actions. And what has been their concern? But what has been their concern? That their salary is meager, their condition of service is nothing to write home about, and that their standard of living is deteriorating, and that there's the need for government to increase the salary. And they have gone to strike not once, not twice. No, in fact, my own professor, the venerable Professor 𝗟𝗓𝗪𝗘, led some of those crusades. And what the gentleman is trying to avert all of us our minds to is the fact that, look, acquiring a PhD, and you know, getting a PhD is not something you can downplay. You must finish your undergraduate, be done with your masters in about 2 or 3 years. Then you now engage in the PhD proper scholarship. You know, so that one takes you even 4 years. So comparing all these years, then he comes to the realization that, look, having gone through all of these things, if it means nothing to my well-being, if it means nothing to my progress, if it means nothing to an improved condition of living and standard of living, then what it means is that I can as well get a better life when I have a death passport offered to me, which allows him to even travel in all the European countries and more, to become a citizen of the Netherlands, to even stand for serious positions like the mayor, like MPs and whatnot. And so I think that we should not elevate our versations on his comments to jettison the government of the situation, because at the end of the day he is making a very solid point, and I think that we should relax on how we want to put premium on the PAD and criticize the issues and see how best. So it is a huge call to us here in Ghana that look, having acquired all of these certifications, if it does not reflect in the standard of living, in your condition of living, in your way of life, progress and what have you, what it means is that you are not better off than having a death passport that gives you a better or a good option. So I think that those are the things we have to avert our mind to.
So clearly that point is well made, and that is why I'm coming back to Mercedes before I go to Ernesto. So Mercedes, essentially it's not just about the acquisition of knowledge or the fact that you gain some if you like, level of respectability on the social ladder. It's about the quality of life that you receive having gotten to that pinnacle of learning. And we are limiting the conversation specifically to the University of Ghana. Do you really think, I mean, if there's somebody who is in that institution and the person would complete his or her program and then at the end of the day would be taken from 6,000 Ghana cedis, 7, 8, 9, 10, up to somewhere 11 or 12, compared to somebody who perhaps may not even have even a master's degree elsewhere, earning so much more, enjoying proper, access to, healthcare and other benefits. Between the two, which one would you vote for on any given day?
So it will be hypocritical of me to say that the quality of life in these two countries are the same. But if I had a PhD from the University of Ghana, I don't think that it stops me from also exploring opportunities in other countries. These days, there are a lot of priority-based opportunities for people with higher academic certification. Beyond these, I also think that why can't we have both? So why can't I have both a PhD from the University of Ghana and a Dutch passport? At least that gives me more opportunities. Because like I said, we can't even be hypocritical about the fact that the quality of life in these two countries are not the same. So it's best speaking to the quality of life and the expectations we all have of our leaders that making it seem as though a PhD from Ghana is of less significance than a traveling document. Of course, the Dutch passport may open you up to more opportunities. The conditions of living in the Netherlands is definitely better than Ghana. But I have a problem with comparing an educational certification to a traveling document. But of course, yeah, we can't ignore the fact that the quality of life in these two countries are not the same. And having a PhD in these two countries will present you different opportunities. But also, I have a friend in Ghana who has his PhD, not from University of Ghana, but one of the other public universities. And even in Ghana, he had a postdoc in the US, which he was earning good. Recently, he had a research fellow offer from Yale, and he's earning like $9,000 a month while in Ghana. So even as a PhD holder in Ghana, there are still several opportunities we can explore all over the world to make the quality of your life better. But even beyond your personal pursuit of a good life, the question should be, what are our leaders really doing? Because I always say, one of the things that I miss I do not miss and don't want to come back to Ghana too, is the fact that here, I don't have to worry about running water. My water is always running. I don't have to worry about my lights going off. And these are the basic things that people are asking for. People need in their life. At least we should have running water. At least our electricity should be on. At least good roads. At least some good public transportation system. These are basic things that a country our age shouldn't be struggling with. If we had these basic things, I don't think that there would be a comment comparing a PhD to a pastor from another country.
So you believe clearly that the system is defunct, reason for which conversations of this nature would come up in the very first place?
Definitely. It's the fact that the quality of life in Ghana is so terrible that even if you earn more, it's not just about you knowing how our system is. We also think of other family members as life is good. Well, conversation goes to what are our leaders doing to provide the simple basic things. Because like I said, on the pyramid, the bottom is the physiological need. We can't even meet the physiological need. We can't meet that. No matter the height attained at the top of the pyramid, and higher education is somewhere around self-esteem. So if after that height you obtain, if you can't meet the basic physiological and safety needs, then what have you really attained?
I get the point. Of course, if you can't meet the basic, if you like, everyday needs, then what really have you attained? But before I come to Samson to pick his reactions, because, I mean, his opinion and that of Mercedes, they seem to differ. But before I have you react, Ernesto, there's also been the conversation about patriotism, how that if you are a Ghanaian and then you land yourself in another jurisdiction and you're enjoying, if you like, greener pastures, you should not talk down on your country. Listening to 𝗧𝗵𝗘𝗃, do you think that he has been unpatriotic and he's denigrating Ghana to, you know, the outside world?
I don't think he's denigrating Ghana. You know, oftentimes if there are critical issues like this and you don't speak about them, but you prefer to sweep them under the carpet, they never get solved. Look, the Netherlands has a population of maximum 18 million people. Ghana has in excess of 30 million. The GDP of Netherlands is over $1 trillion. I mean, look at where we are. I don't need to even mention that. So ours is just a drop in, you know, the ocean of Netherlands. Look, we need to be discussing these things to allow, first of all, young ones to begin to reorient themselves in a manner that eventually would inure to the overall benefit of all of us. Patriotism, the gentleman, I mean, if you can look at the amount of resources is going to plow back into Ghana, okay, for a typical or an average young person in Ghana, the person can spend probably 30 years without contributing half of what this gentleman will be able to bring back to the economy. We need to understand that, like we all agree, that it has to do with the quality of life. Now, it's not only the quality of life, we are also looking at the quality of knowledge. It's critical. Let's look at what we study in universities. I mean, across, you know, the educational divide. You are done, then you stay there for probably, so take for example, I completed in 2018. I completed with a lot of people. Now, from 2018 to date, I can tell you that over 80% of my year group, we are not doing anything. And you know what worries me? To see very knowledgeable, very brainy people walking on the streets of, you know, Ghana, and Tamale, you know, in particular. And you begin to ask yourself, in fact, you get worried, and you begin to ask yourself what Ghana is actually, you know, doing to utilize the knowledge and the brains of these young guys. There was a time I lamented that, look, we have these young chaps, you know, contesting for the National Science and Maths quiz. Then they are done and they are done. I mean, that's it. You know, there's no plan. There's no plan to utilize the human resources. If you go to the Netherlands and most of those, you know, the Western world, what they teach, even you know, at the undergraduate level, I'm not kidding, it's enough to start you up. And I've always made this example that in my field, the world's biggest financial institution, asset management firm, it controls $10 trillion. $10 trillion. I'm not talking billions, I'm saying trillion. So you need to get to 1 billion, then you move to $10 trillion. Should I give you the background of the man? Like the thing, you can look him up. He has a bachelor's in political science, and he also has an MBA, and that was it. The guy founded a $10 trillion company. You would be in this country, you have all the certificates, you can first master, second master, third master, you got PhD. Then finally, when you decide to have a PhD, you go and do the PhD, and you still come and you are with us, on the street. We need to also understand that places like Netherlands or the advanced world, they prioritize not only the quality of life. Well, of course, one can argue that the quality of life is also influenced by the quality of the person's knowledge. But if you segregate the two, you will know that these places, even the knowledge you acquire in the academic institutions, is top-notch. You can compete at the global level. Somebody does a bachelor's in finance, and the person has access to probably $1 million or $2 or $5 million, dollars to manage. And the person does an incredible job. Yeah, you enter our universities, and in trying to participate in this conversation, I just hope that we can be honest with ourselves and brutal.
Of course, let's be
honest. You go to the university, and you find most of these, you find most of our professors, doctors, and the senior people that you feel that, they have, the truth of the matter is that we haven't come close. The person even hasn't come close to managing 100,000 Ghana things. Boss, the person is a PhD worth his thoughts, but the opportunity to actually be experimented is not there. That's why sometimes, some of us get overly concerned. Because the person he holds a PhD in probably risk management, he holds a PhD in finance, but there are many people at the universities now doing courses that they don't know what the future holds for them. And you see, what is sad is that sometimes we, for the vast majority of young people now, once you are done with your undergraduate, then you are quick to go and do a master's. Mastery over what? You haven't had the opportunity to even experiment the little that you have learned. You haven't found your feet. Then you go and do a first master's. Of course, most often than not, it's on another person's, packet. Someone else funds it. If not, a benevolent, relative, then it is the government paying huge fees for people to go and read masters. Huge fees for people to go and read PhDs, and when they are done, they cannot, make anything out of it. And so we must understand that the conversation regarding, whether or not this person, by making this comment, is patriotic, I'm telling you that the person wishes to contribute enormously to the success and growth of Ghana. The question is that should he leave Netherlands today? Should he renounce his Netherlands citizenship and return back to Ghana? Would you utilize it? You make nonsense of his qualifications. But the best you can do is probably the capital. We've been speaking about entrepreneurship and the relevance of capital in actually starting up something. He would make people like that, when they speak, it's out of frustration. When he finally makes his country, I'm telling you that there's really nothing better than home. And that's why, despite our desire to acquire higher knowledge and acquire, international standard, knowledge, we still believe that Ghana must be developed. If I buy hook or crook, the country must be developed.
Right, 30 seconds.
So if we do not do that, if we do not do that, comments like this are just a tip of the iceberg. I'm telling you that today, if you go to the universities, it's not, even most of the lecturers, when given the opportunity to go and lecture between University of Ghana and, probably Polytechnic, or not to say they are places, but an academic institution in the Netherlands, they will prefer to go there. The opportunity hasn't really knocked their door, but if it does, they will. And so, of course, the PhD is important. But if you ask me, there is more that's desired. We all have to contribute to that.
Right, absolutely. So clearly, the opinions are getting properly shaped and placed in a better perspective. But I want us to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, I'll pick Samson's reaction. Then we get to the next leg of the conversation. But before we do so, don't forget that we are proudly sponsored by the Christian Service University. 02462 6275375 is the number for you to call if you want to get in touch with them. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Don't call me, oh, don't call me. Ghana for Methodist Asafoma. WTV Enyamfienu 5 years. Hooray! Na enam emfienu mafidida. WTV ADNT. Or yet don't call me promo. And it says, Zawaya Methodist Asafoba. Now what business? And Ejuma Kubia Opeso Bomu Deura. WTV say, Ye Babika, Ejuma Kuno, and as we got on Yeno. Ya Bomu Deura na what you mean 2 weeks at the amount 500 Ghana cedis pay. And I'll bet ya. Way a Yakwanya WTV Airfaso at the other was say, what time the chi? I'm my room Pempenswa and never dream. Yanuti, Methodist Asafoma, Muaku, Amopesa Mubomu Deuru, Muntutumrika, Namumra, Fred WTV, Nani Penfoning Como, Emfa don't call me promo 0593 110733, and now WhatsApp 0256 253461. WTV, reaching out to the world.
Praise God, praise God. Christ in tea, you respond, yeah, this year. I'm excited to announce to you, friends in the Lord, are you seeking for a platform where you can pray? Ope baby apeso bompire. Now ninyami edi inkita home. Bibi chiro so. And amanye bi na the same kum. And you come home. Let's go into the prayer room on WTV every Friday 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. to meet seasoned ministers of God that God has raised to impact your life. Remember, John Wesley said, I have too much to do, therefore I spend several hours in prayer in able to do it. That is why we are calling upon you. Meet myself, Reverend Hosea Say, and the Evangelism Mission Renewal Directorate as we lead you into the prayer room where we encounter Christ. And I believe your life will never be the same. Call your friends or loved ones every Friday 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. where we will encounter Christ. God bless you. See you on our screens on WTV every Friday 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. God bless you.
That each and every put the first.
All right, thanks for your patience. We are back, and this is still the state here on Wesleyan Television. My name is 𝗧𝗵𝗘𝗃𝗃, and this afternoon we've been embroiled in a conversation that has actually occupied social media for a very long time, if you ask me, because every Ghanaian is concerned about the debate that has been on heat, whether or not it is ideal to prefer a Dutch passport is to be preferred to at least, or let me say, acquiring a PhD at the nation's premier university, the University of Ghana. My guests have included 𝗓𝗵𝗃𝗃𝗃. He is here with us currently in studio. Mercedes Masemene is joining us all the way from the United States of America, as well as Ernesto Jacob Baba, who is in the upper parts of Ghana, specifically in the northern region. All of these three very sound and savvy individuals have been sharing an array of opinions on the matter. But don't forget that we are sponsored by the Christian Service University. Christian Service University offers an array of programs in nursing, in project management, whatever at all you desire, if you like, to do in terms of pursuing further studies. Even after your first degree, they have something in store for you. We'll be rolling their numbers on the screen intermittently too. We will be detailing out to you figure, or let me say digits by digits, so that you're able to get in touch with them and connect with them in that particular respect. Now, in this other leg of the conversation, something I said I was going to have you react to Mercedes. So you react, and then we get to this other part of the conversation as well. Now, Ernesto introduced a very important aspect which I think is very central to the conversation: the value of education in general. It's only last 2 years that the sector minister made the point that, look, he even thinks that we should review some of the programs we have at the tertiary levels, because there is no nexus between them and the demands of industry. So somebody goes to read, a particular program. I don't want to mention any specifics, but the person finishes, and then there's no tie with, industry. Therefore, the individual is rendered unemployed. Do you think it's time we took that hard decision to even say that, look, even when it comes to degree acquisition, let's limit it to, you know, particular programs, specifically here in Ghana. Let's not just be, you know, everywhere generalized. We shouldn't just do everything. Have we come to that critical point where we must take that critical and, if you like, very biting decision?
Okay, Kwesi, I will be very honest with you, but let me quickly react to Mercedes' points of view and that of Jacob's before I zoom into this new leg of the conversation. You see, Mercedes made a very cogent point, and I wanted us to quickly look at it. She said that, look, she is not tempted to think of returning to Ghana for two reasons. She mentioned running water and constant supply of electricity. Look, it goes beyond just those two elements that she mentioned. The point in Mr. Happiness, you know, overly, you know, facetious or, if you like, ambitious statement in, you know, getting the Dutch passport is this. He doesn't look at the PhD holders from the University of Ghana to be any better off owing to their qualifications at that high level of education. And when you look at them, he sees a better opportunity being a citizen. Mind you, having a Dutch passport means that you are a citizen of the Dutch or the Netherlands. And you are also a citizen of the EU, like I said earlier. And so let us have this understanding that if you cannot improve, having acquired all of this knowledge to that level of a PhD, then you are as good as not even having a passport in the Dutch. You can just be a temporary, you know, worker there. That much you can earn something decent and maybe run back to your home country and make something big. So for me, I think the conversation has to do basically with the state of our economy. By economy, I mean the generality of our welfare, the standard of living, our condition of living, cost of living, and what have you. And that is what Kwesi Gaps or Mr. Happiness is trying to put across, not necessarily a strict comparison between a PhD and a Dutch passport. Kwesi, go to the airport this afternoon. You will see the number of people in the queue leaving this country. Just yesterday, I hosted two of my friends in one meeting when they told me that today they'll be leaving the shores of Ghana and they cannot guarantee when next they will be coming back. So they intended to come and say goodbye to me. They were with me yesterday, and I'm sure that they are listening to this conversation. We see, the brain drain, the human capital flight, what are they going out there to do? To look for a better opportunity. And if a better opportunity is outside there than a PhD in Ghana, I do not think that you need my honest answer on this particular one. So for me, it is a clarion call on our leaders to take a second look at how things are done in this country.
Yes. Look, so do we have to, in looking at taking a second look at how things are done, should we reform? I mean, let's get to the part of
that's exactly where I'm coming to. Because we need to look at our educational structure. Look, the system of education we have adopted from 1957 up to now need to be looked at totally. We need to begin to have a conversation where certain parts of our education will restrict us to, you know, crafts. What we can have at hand, something handy that can make us self-reliant, that you don't need to necessarily go to school to study all the humanity courses waiting for somebody to employ you. When you go to some of these developed countries, what they do is to begin this skill training from the very word go. So a child begins education in, let's say, automobile manufacturing, maybe some gadget and what have you. By the time the child gets to appreciate the level of that education, he or she can even put a product out there and that will cash in some good, you know. And that's what we have been buying from some of these countries all this year. So we need to look at the structure of our education. At what point do we introduce real-time skill into our education? Is it after at the basic level or at the SHS level or at the university level? When you go to all our universities, most of the courses we read are humanity courses. They are humanity courses, but if you look at the capacity of the country to absorb this product when they complete their education, it's low. In fact, it's not just low, it's non-existent. It's almost non-existent. And so if you are able to be trained in a specific skill, then you can be relevant first to yourself and be self-sufficient. Then you can also put out some beautiful ideas out of your novelty. You can generate employment to others. Look, there is a huge aspect of our economy that we need to infuse into our education so that we begin to take a lead in that area. And I'm looking for a platform where we can have those conversations. But eventually, what am I saying? I'm saying that we need to look at how we marry skill orientation with our educational structure so that we don't have a situation where when you complete school, having completed your undergraduate, having completed your master's degree or your PhD, you must wait for one government to say that there is this job availability this way, so apply for it. And when you apply, you can be assured that you won't get it. And that is where we have gotten to. We need to take that drastic decision. If not, look, the brain drain in this country.
1 minute.
You have no idea. Everyone is looking to, you know, _�𝗓𝗓. Right. Not in the name of in the case of the Supreme Court, the _�𝗓𝗓 of the AG, no, to _�𝗓𝗓 to leave this country. And I'm sure that if the opportunity avails itself to you and I don't know for you.
I asked the question, so I was going to put it to you. If you had that opportunity to exit the jurisdiction now, what would be your take? How would you welcome that?
Question, don't tell me my family people called you. You think that I will do what? What are you thinking? Look, I am not even waiting for the opportunity. It's my first point of prayer every day. Even as I'm here, I'm praying that right after this show, somebody should come and say that, okay, you pick between this one and that. I'm going. Look, we go to school, acquire all the knowledge to better our lives, not for the delight of it. I cannot rubbish the essence of, you know, being enlightened out of formal education. That is well enough. But beyond that, you must survive on what you have spent all your years acquiring. And that is why your parents sent you to school. They spend the hard currencies to give you those knowledge. So if those knowledge cannot bring anything beneficial in terms of livelihood to your parents and yourself, what becomes of it? Then it's a bad business from the word go. So for me, I'm saying that the issue of a Dutch passport, which is actually a citizenship in natural sense, and that of a PhD, is not the literal meaning of that statement. There is a deep understanding, and we should at least put our minds to it and know that, no, this gentleman is trying to compare opportunities and standard of living and all of that to that of what is happening elsewhere. And the reality is that it is no better here. He mentioned PhD. Why? Were we not in this country where we have a PhD people who were assembled to manage the economy? For example, Dr. Akoto Bafo. You know, you remember those things. But the economy, we have it today. So he is saying that PhD, he will take a Dutch citizenship over that PhD, which I agree. We are in this country where a PhD holder told us that he will pick a Ghana card over 10 what's the name? Overheads. You know, and so the guy is looking at what I want to be very measured. I don't want to belittle. Exactly. You know, I want to be very measured. And so for me, the conversation is a wake-up call to all the leaders, all of us, to take a second look at the opportunities that are there. Because see, I don't know for your year badge. Ernest mentioned something, and it is similar in my case. Most of the people I have schooled with,
30 seconds.
They are out there. Every day they call you, Samson, no opportunity. Then I tell them, even me, I'm looking for one. So if I get one, I'll link you. You see, so we need to look at these issues critically. It is not time for us to, you know, celebrate, you know, just a formal education over the reality that is before us. With global respect to every academia and those who are in a PhD category. I respect that. I also want to be called a doctor one day. It's such a delight.
But you prefer a Dutch passport first?
Before? For now, let's hold it that way. Let's hold it that way.
All right, let me come to you, Mercedes. You've been exposed to education outside of Ghana, so clearly you are in a better position to compare the two. So the question, therefore, is that do you rally behind or support the call for us to have if like an overhaul of our whole educational system? And what are the specifics that if you were, for example, a policymaker would settle on? What exactly would you have as it were, amend in education here in Ghana?
All right, thanks. Before I go on to answer, I would want to make some comments on what Ernesto said, and that's regarding our motivation for education, even in Ghana. What is our motivation for education? That I am done with my bachelor's. Even before the bachelor's, what influences one to decide that I want to be in the university? And that's why I've always had a problem with the renaming of polytechnics at universities. Polytechnics serve a different purpose. Universities serve a different purpose. Then if you go back to read the history of behind the setting up of these two institutions, they were set up for different purposes. Polytechnics were supposed to be solving the everyday basic technical needs or technological needs of our society.
Right.
Why do we have to change their names to a university? Why do we have to change our training colleges to a university or before we can regard them? I feel our mindset as Ghanaians, even as of the leaders at the top, is the reason why we don't see value in our education. Because these are two different or three different institutions set up for different reasons. Why do we necessarily have to use a term university? Why do we look down on people who have not been to the university as less important or less useful to the society? And that is why people just go into education to fit in, not because they are going in there to benefit the economy. So we can have several graduates and the economy will never benefit because our motivation for the education itself is wrong. People just want to be in the university because as my friends graduated and they are all there. How are we prioritizing the technical aspect as well? How are we prioritizing these professional certifications or careers as well? How are we letting them also feel that they are equally important as someone who has a degree or who has been to the university? If that mindset changes, starting from the policymakers, because if as a policymaker who you are supposed to educate, you equally are towing the same line, and because of populism, you are enhancing or enabling some of these flaws in the system, then you have a problem. And if the gentleman makes such a comment, then it's targeted at such leaders who are supposed to know better but can't do better. And so if our education is not producing value, it's the motivation for running on some of these courses that this university is running this, everybody runs the same. What are the needs of the system? And what programs are we running to meet the needs of the system? That is what is done out there. What are the needs of the system? And what are we running to meet the needs of that system?
Right.
But the thing is, you can't even compare universities out there to out here. Because unlike Ghana, here public universities are sponsored a lot by a lot of these state institutions. Research is being sponsored. There's a lot of money out there for various research projects. Alumni are sponsoring and building facilities and contributing to technological development in the school. What are elites doing in Ghana? I made a jovial comment on Facebook sometime back. Elites in Ghana, I just focus on trivial things that are not. It's just adding on more wives. How many of them are contributing to our universities? How many of them are funding research projects? How many of them are? Because we can't blame a university who is under-resourced to want to run programs that need resources. They can't. I have a friend who is doing a master's in accounting in my school, and he was like, when he got here, he realized that Ghanaian students abroad are really good because we know the basis of whatever we are studying, and we mostly excel abroad. However, our challenge is always the tools, because we are not taking through the tools. And an accounting student, he got to class, and he's a master's student. You have undergraduate seniors who are using tools that he has never heard of, who he never has any experience with them. How do you compete with such people?
Right.
Because at the end of the day, it is not just a certificate. What skills are you bringing to the table? And that's what we lack back home. And we can't blame our universities if our government, if our elite class are not themselves interested in funding some of these or supporting our universities. So they'll keep running the regular the kind of same courses, and at the end of the day, you won't be beneficial to anybody. And I believe education is also individual. What are we as young people also, are we just following the trend that you have people in Ghana having 3 masters in different areas? No, wait, so what really is your focus? Or you have masters in climate, whatever. You have another masters in business, unless they don't hear that this is the hotspot. And then everybody is taking the masters there, because at least within 9 months, they are done. But as Ernesto said, to pursue a master's, you should have found your feet or known your direction, the direction you want to take. And when you know the direction you want to take, maybe you are already in the industry and working in industry, and you have found your interest in that in the industry that, oh, I think that I'm more in line with the human resources aspect, and I want to progress towards that line. And then you go on to go and take maybe an MBA HR. So you are progressing in line with your interest and what value you want to give. But that is not what we see.
Right.
People just get up and do these courses because they want to fit in, because they also want to brag that they are graduating, because they want promotion. Some don't even ever step in class, get the certificate for promotion. And so if we ourselves are doing these, how then do we blame the leaders who are just few?
Right.
We need to set our priorities right.
Right, the call for certain priorities right is well heeded. And Ernesto, I want to come to you then. We'll wrap up with a minute each for all of us because clearly we are behind time. But the point has been made. We have to reorient our educational system and then, if you like, reset the configuration just a little bit. Because I know practically people who have completed, the university. There are people who even have master's degree who, not to be dismissive or ridicule anybody, they are involved in, if you like, very menial enterprises. So somebody has an MBA, but the person is maybe marketing flower pots on WhatsApp or curtains. Exactly, Momo. And really, that is not why they went to the universities in the very first place. So it questions the value of the whole system. Do you share in that sentiment as well? Or you think, well, the status quo is okay, we can maintain it?
I hold the view that the fact that we still exist as a country, as a nation, as a state, is only by divine providence. Because if we were to conduct an audit of our way of doing things, post Dr. 𝗬𝗵𝗃𝗀, in fact, there's nothing to write home about. We haven't been intentional about our development. Now, somebody who goes to probably, let's say, the University of Ghana, reads an MBA in finance, and is down, and probably the only thing the person finds himself doing, after spending probably 36,000 Ghana cedis, I understand. I don't know if that's increased, but 36,000 Ghana cedis, 2 years, of his life, ends up in Kantamanto, taking, one pair of shoe, to another, and posting on WhatsApp status, and that's what the person does 24/7, right? We have a big problem because if the system has no opportunity for MBA finance students, the state mustn't enable it. It must be encouraged. And so I believe that as young people, these conversations are necessary because it gets us thinking. And I'm hopeful that, through these discussions, we can decongest the universities, especially of, this big courses that we end up doing, and, yet we have no use for them. Because you see, this is how some of the courses are. So, for example, when you do an MBA in finance, then you're not doing anything related to finance, but whatever you have learned, already you don't even have the industry skills. But the theory, okay, it gets so rapid that you can even virtually, if you look yourself in the mirror, you can virtually recognize yourself as an MBA finance student or MBA finance holder, certificate holder. And so these are very critical things that we must continue to discuss. Because if we do not do that, like I said, the last few years, probably let me take from 94 to the last few years out, we've already gotten things wrong. I think that from this moment onwards, we must redirect our guns towards doing things that are relevant. Look, academic certificates, if there's anything that I'm proud of, as far as my undergraduate studies is concerned, is that it has given me a certain sense of awakening to see the world differently, right? To understand that you need to be practical. In what I do today, it has no connection or whatsoever, to what I did, back in school, at the undergraduate level.
Undergraduate level, right.
And many people are in my shoes. I mean, they have similar experiences.
I'm part of those in your shoes anyway, if I have to put it that way.
Oh, yeah, look at you. You are a perfect example. You did nothing in relation to journalism, but today in the fourth estate, you cannot mention the up and coming stars without mentioning Shandor. I mean, sometimes we see from afar and we see the kind of engagements that you have. Then you go to GIJ. For the past probably even 5-10 years, you don't have some of their products commanding the same excellence as you in the field. And so we need to begin to think it. When I finished my last paper, I remember I was like, oh, finally, I can decide to read or not to read. I can decide whatever material I want to read. I can't be compelled by anybody, but I'm done with my first degree. Then, after a few months, a few experiences, nobody told me to wake up and start reading. Things that sometimes I don't even need anybody to, force me to sit to read. I look for the knowledge and I acquire it. And I'm telling you that most often than not, the PhD you have, if you have a master, you have a PhD. The PhD and the masters cannot teach you everything there is to know regarding a particular field.
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, you are holding a certificate. But then you must now define what the certificate must be. The certificate must be defined because, honestly speaking, these are just the certificate, most often than not, maximum 100 slides. You read it, you go and write your exams whether you are reading or not. You make a gentleman pass, you are off. So I'm moving to the next step, right? And so, if you are really interested in the body of knowledge, then you must commit yourself to constant and continuous learning.
Exactly.
A PhD will not do that. However, if you are interested in developing and contributing to the body of knowledge in that particular field, you can go ahead and do a PhD. I mean, it's superb. Like, was it something 𝗧𝗵𝗲𝗘 said that, PhD holders are at the apex of, the academic ladder.
Right.
These are well respected, these are knowledgeable guys. But honestly speaking, as a percentage, pains me so much that we see that their knowledge going waste on a daily basis. Somebody doing PhD in mathematics. I am humble enough to know when somebody is intelligent and to recognize intelligence and talent. When I see somebody who is more brainy and all of that, I'm not intimidated. I want to get closer to the person and try to know what the person knows. These are very intelligent young men and women walking the streets of Ghana without the system even giving. I mean, the system doesn't care.
Right.
I want to choose the system doesn't care, and that worries me a lot.
Right. I'm sure it worries all of us, and Mercedes is also very much concerned, though she's not currently in Ghana. But Mercedes, in just 1 minute, your closing comments, and then we wrap up with something here in another 1 minute, specifically 1 minute, and we are out of here because we are really behind time.
So my last comment on the issue would be that we have spent, a lot of people are taking the advantage to attack people in academia, which I think is wrong. And like this go into doing relevant, into supporting the academia to put out the best, even beyond being putting out the best. Policy aspects of the final say in either accepting or not accepting to implement some of the suggestions. What we should do as people is to come together political divide and put this pressure on our political leaders. They are the ones who are messing up the system. They are the ones with the power to change and make things better for us all. Right. They are the ones to at least promote some quality of life among them, because I can have a quality of life Ernesto can himself have the quality of like, what happened to the entire society? Because individual success does not matter if the entire society suffers. Right. So let's come together and put the pressure on the people that deserve it. This is a reason. Thank you.
Right, thank you. We are grateful as well. Something in 1 minute, 30 seconds, the countdown starts now. Take us over.
I think that we've said all that needed to be said, and the truth is that you can acquire all the knowledge in a particular field, but if that knowledge cannot translate into any meaningful life for yourself and for the society, then we have every reason to question it. And that is what exactly Mr. Happiness or Ghana Kofi Gaps is trying to put across. And so it's a wake-up call, like I indicated, that all of us will wake up. But I want to passionately appeal to Mr. Happiness that when he wants to turn his gun on those who appeared, you know, somehow meaningful as a result of their education, but are not doing well for us as a country, it should be pointed at the politicians, especially those with the PhDs, because we have seen their trademarks. I mean, we have seen and celebrated ultra-crepidarians who have led us to where we are today. The very reason why millions of Ghanaians are leaving the shores of the country by day, there is a report by PRC that says that 75% of Ghanaians are ready to leave Ghana today to elsewhere outside the jurisdiction to go and find a greener pasture. And Kofi Gaps or Mr. Happiness is one of them. So there's a serious problem at hands, and all of us must be humble enough to pick something from that statement and come to the realization that indeed this is time for us to wake up. If not, we are not sitting on a time bomb, but the bomb is about exploding. So we are in danger.
Right, clearly we are in danger. Ernesto 𝗧𝗵𝗃𝗦𝗃 is a finance and risk manager. He joined us all the way from the northern region. Ernesto, we are grateful for your company this afternoon. 𝗟𝗜𝗩𝗘 is a PhD candidate at the University, I beg your pardon, in the United States of America, and that he also joined us, of course, sharing some deep and highly insightful, if you like, inputs on this particular subject matter. 𝗪𝗏𝗏 Tago joined us here in studio, and he says that, well, we are not even sitting on a time bomb, but there's a possibility that all of us may explode. But we pray that does not happen. We pray that we are all able to rally, you know, behind the leaders of the country, table useful propositions, and ensure that the country becomes better. It's time to go, but of course we can't do that without acknowledging the fact that this show is proudly brought to you by the Christian Service University. So take note of these numbers in case you want to reach out to them. 024-627-5375, 024-627-5375, 024-627-5375. You can also reach them on 024-0154-825. Now, let me take you through some of the courses or programs that they have on offer. If you want to be a nurse, if you are interested in midwifery, business administration, communication, planning, and computer science, you can get in touch with them. Also, you can visit them on their websites on www.csuc.edu.gh. They say that they are the university of choice. On that note, we sign out. We'll be back again on Friday with another enthralling conversation. My name is Quarcoo. Thanks for your company. Bye-bye.